Welcome into the Farzy Show, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful morning to this point, or day, depending on when you're watching or listening to this. We're the Steven Singer Studios here at the Farzy Show. Here's what we got going on today, and we got a lot of Eagles conversation to get into, considering the first preseason game that came and went Friday night. We got a lot of Phillies conversation to get into here when it comes to the Phillies, particularly the offense being terrible in one of the biggest series of the season. The measuring stick series against the Mets there. And we're going to get into some other fine chatter as well. But when it comes to this Mets series, I just want to start out by saying this. Keith Hernandez was still wrong. There's no way in any stratosphere that he was correct in his statement. So for all the Mets people that are crawling into my comment sections across our social media platforms, what do you think now? I think the same thing. I think Keith Hernandez is big fat idiot who said some stupid things the other day before this Phillies series. Did the Mets wipe the floor with the Phillies? Oh, absolutely, especially in Game 3. Now, did they sweep the Phillies? No, obviously not. Was it a pitcher's duel in Game 2 of the series? It absolutely was. Did they get to their old boy Zach Wheeler in Game 3? Yeah, I'd say so. But the Phillies bats were absolutely silent. This series and Keith Hernandez's comments weren't about whether or not the Mets were better than the Phillies. Anybody who's ever watched a baseball game ever knows that the Mets are better than the Phillies. We know that. We also know in recent years, the Mets have made the playoffs far more times than the Phillies have made the playoffs, too. But the point wasn't whether or not the Mets are better than the Phillies. The point was, are they worth somebody's time? And Keith Hernandez, who wanted to act holier than thou, said that they were not worth his time. The Phillies are first off a playoff team. All right, albeit a wild card, they're a playoff team. So right away, they're kind of worth your time. On top of that, you want to talk about the defensive mistakes, and we'll get into Brandon Marsh. And yes, the Phillies made their defensive mistakes. But leading up to this series, as I laid out for you throughout last week, especially Thursday, Friday, 2 days after he made those comments, the Mets have been a worse defensive team than the Phillies this year. If you break it down, fielding percentage-wise, I believe the Mets have they're about 1/1000th of a fielding percentage point better than the Phillies. Okay, so that's pretty close. And the Phillies have committed 3 fewer errors. So defensively, they're right there. So if you want to talk about fundamentals and defense, still stupid comment. Yeah, what do you think about the Mets now? I think the same thing. Nothing changes. Keith Hernandez made stupid comments. So anyone thinking after this series it's justified? No, absolutely not. Factual. I'm not even giving an opinion. I'm giving facts. Keith Hernandez was giving a dumb opinion backed up by nothing. So nothing changes. Except this, I'm more pissed at the Phillies now than I was 3 games ago. I mean, looking at Game 1, the Phillies were great. They were just the offense obviously wasn't on fire by any means. It was a 2-1 win. And the Bryson Stott stat, for those that, by the way, I did an emergency show on Friday. I love that overdramatic term we use in the digital world, but I did an emergency show on Friday. And this stat came up regarding Bryson Stott, who obviously ended up scoring the game-winning run on Friday night. This comes from Tim Britton of The Athletic. Bryson Stott, the first player to ever reach base 4 times in the same game on Max Scherzer. If you haven't seen that stat to this point, there it is. That's bonkers to me. And Bryson Stott had himself a game on Friday night. And the Phillies won in extras. It was extremely exciting. Then Saturday night, I'm out back. I'm on the patio. I got a cigar lit. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law are over. We're watching the Phillies. And my father-in-law is a huge baseball fan. And we're just enjoying every second of it. And the Phillies just can't get on the board. They can't get on the board. Finally, the 9th inning, you think they're going to have an opportunity to do it. I see Nick Castellanos swinging a pitch that's out of the zone, but I will say the home plate umpire strike zone was all over the place, definitely giving the corners to Nola and DeGrom on Saturday night. And Nick Castellanos swings the pitch by Diaz that's out of the zone. I believe it would have been ball 4, would have loaded the bases. Diaz looked like he was losing his stuff, and Nick Castellanos helped him out. It's not all Nick Castellanos' fault that they lost that game. I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying that's the one particular thing that sticks out to me about Saturday night's game and Saturday night's loss, other than the fact that the bats just couldn't get it going until that 9th inning when they got some runners in scoring position. But then yesterday, all right, Saturday, Nola allows the run in the first inning, and that was all that was needed in the game. Zach Wheeler allows a run in the first inning, settles in for the next 2, and I'm thinking, all right, this is going to be a very similar situation to Saturday where it's going to be a pitcher's duel again. And then the fourth inning happened, and the wheels came off for the Phillies. And there are certain moments, I talked about this in the Nationals, or excuse me, in the Marlins series, especially in that third game, where it was like, you didn't feel like the Phillies were going to lose until game 3, and you saw a play in the first inning by Rhys Hoskins, and you're like, maybe that's not our day. You see Gene Segura drop a ball, and you go, maybe it's not our day. I had that same feeling that I had in game 3 against the Marlins as I did in game 3 against the Mets. Just not our day. That fourth inning happened, and I go, this ain't the Marlins. This ain't the Nationals. The Mets are going to just keep pouring it on. And for the most part, they did. Vogelbach got the home run later in the ball game, and it just didn't feel like it was going to be the Phillies' day. Phillies didn't get swept, but their bats looked dead and buried. To go over some of the numbers that are just insane, really, if you think about it, it's 26 innings that the Phillies haven't scored. They got the one run in the 10th inning that started out, of course, with the extra inning rules with the runner on second base. That run scored. But if you don't count that, talk about 26 innings outside of extra innings where the Phillies haven't scored. The only thing worse than this was the time the Phillies got shut out in 3 straight games against the New York Mets in, I want to say, 2010. That's the only time that this has been worse for the Phillies, especially against the New York Mets. They went up there and they got dominant. Their bats got owned in this series. And one of the scariest things that came out after this series was after game 2, where Rhys Hoskins was talking to the media, and they were asking him about Jacob deGrom. Hey, Jacob deGrom, what did he look like to you? Did Jacob deGrom show any signs of rust? Any different in mechanics or anything? And Rhys Hoskins said, nope. Nope, looks like the same guy, which is not a good thing for the Phillies and the future matchups between the Phillies and the Mets when Jacob deGrom's pitching. Because if he still looks like the guy that he looked like a couple of years ago, that's a dominant pitcher. And look, we didn't need Rhys Hoskins to say anything after that game, but it further solidified the idea that Jacob deGrom is going to dominate baseball bats because he's a hell of a pitcher. God, one of the best in baseball. Listen to some of the national media members, Jeff Passan, Tim Kirchin, talk about a guy like Jacob deGrom, and it's just that when he is on, there's really nobody in baseball doing it better than him. And that certainly showed in game 2 of this series. And then they get beat up yesterday as well with not even a pitcher's duel to fall back on. It was an awful, awful weekend for the Phillies. Before I roll right into the Eagles, I do want to let you guys hear from Rob Thompson, Topper, who came out after this weekend, after the series, came out in the clubhouse and was talking about how the bats of this team are just going silent, and how Topper just doesn't seem too worried about it.
Yeah, pitching's good. We've seen pitching now from the Miami series all the way through here, and we had some trouble scoring runs in this series, obviously, but part of it's due to good pitching. Part of it's also due to the fact that when the runs are at a premium, sometimes you try to do too much, and I saw a lot of that today.
Exacerbated maybe by not having Schwarber?
No, I just think just by not scoring many runs, that's all. And so we just got to get back to basics and keep the line moving and not try to do too much.
Even though I know you faced great pitching here the last few days, but the strikeouts are just very, very high the last 4 games. How much of a concern?
Well, we've been doing that at times this year, and we've gone through this at times this year where we're trying to do too much. We just got to get back to basics. Have good at bats, swing at strikes. Think small and big things happen.
Let's hope that they're able to get this back in the not too distant future. By the way, for the people watching, not for the people on the podcast, got a little bit of a camera issue today. Don't know why that's going on, but it's happening. One thing you got to respect about a manager, and I even gave praise to Joe Girardi for this at certain times, and really a lot of managers that do this, I feel, just have a really good handle on things for the most part in terms of the emotion that can go through a 162-game season. Rob Thompson's not freaking out about this series. He understands the opponent. And when we talk about other series and we talk about the schedule in the second half of this season, we've talked about how many times they face the Nationals, how many times they face the Marlins, how many times they're about to face a team like the Reds, for instance. And it's all taken with a grain of salt. It's all taken with, it's the Nationals. It's the Reds, soon to be, hopefully. It's the Marlins. Like, you should beat these teams. And yes, you should. You should do what you're supposed to do against these bottom-tier teams. I understand that you're going to go face the Mets in a series like this. And you're going to have your struggles in a series like that when you're facing one of the better teams in baseball. And that's exactly what happened. Phillies, game 1, obviously put up that fight. Game 2, not there. Game 3, certainly not there. But when people talk about it's only the Nationals, it's only the Marlins, a lot of times they're just prepping themselves for a series like this where, yeah, great, you're doing what you're supposed to do against these bottom-tier teams. But you're also proving you're not one of those bottom-tier teams when you're winning those series or you're sweeping those series. And that's exactly what happened. And then they upped it, and they went to face the Mets in New York at Citi Field. And they did what they have done against the Mets this year, which is unfortunately lose a lot of ball games. Rob Thompson saying to himself, yeah, that's fine. We don't have Schwarber. We had him for one at-bat in the the 8th inning on Saturday night. They gave an opportunity to Kyle Schwarber to try to tie things up at the very least. Wasn't able to do it. And then, of course, they couldn't reach back into that pocket and pull him out again on Sunday. So we'll see how much longer Kyle Schwarber is going to be out. Hopefully not much longer, but hopefully he just gets a couple of days rest and he'll be back and better than ever. And then they'll get Bryce Harper back in this lineup as well. The only problem is with a healthy Schwarber and a healthy Bryce Harper, the Mets have also beaten the Phillies this year. So we'll see how it plays out come September when hopefully you get both guys back at least. Well, hopefully you get Schwarber back before that. But hopefully you get Bryce Harper back with a very healthy bat. Does not look like today. Now, by the way, he's going to be back at Citizens Bank Park taking some batting practice, which is great as his progression continues with his rehab. And then he'll progress to minor league games, hopefully maybe even by early next week, maybe even by the end of this week. So we'll see how all that plays out. But when it comes to Bryce Harper getting back, I don't expect him to be in right field. I think that idea is now shot to hell. It does not seem like he's going to do that. The elbow is still a problem, but the fact that he's able to take batting practice again, take some swings, and then hopefully progress sooner rather than later to minor league games will be a huge step for the Phillies in the right direction. Let's get into, by the way, 6:40 start time today for the Phillies and the Reds in Cincinnati. Look forward to a nice 6:40 start time. Let's get into the Eagles, shall we? Now, if you watch the emergency show Friday, you'll know a lot of this already, but I have to get to this. This is unreal to me. Friday morning show, I was talking about what I needed to see from Jalen Hurts, and what I got was better than what I wanted to see. He was perfect, people. He scored 2 touchdowns in one drive. The other one was called back, but then he threw the second one. It was great. 6 for 6, 80 yards and a touchdown. Got out of the pocket well, created time, bought time for his receivers to get open. Couple of good defensive plays. You'll hear from Nick Sirianni in a second talk about it after he watched the film. Not like, to me, after a game when a coach speaks, he hasn't watched the film yet, and a lot of it kind of goes out the window almost immediately. So after he got a chance to watch the film, and this was yesterday, he addressed the media during Eagles practice before they go to Cleveland to have a joint practice for the rest of the week with the Cleveland Browns ahead of their preseason game. So Nick Sirianni spoke yesterday, and I couldn't agree more. And when they would show the all-22 footage of Jalen Hurts escaping the pocket, a lot of those instances, there was guys covered downfield. There wasn't a lot of guys open. And he, I thought, escaped the pocket when he should have escaped the pocket. And he bought time when he should have bought time, whether that been protection breakdown or whether that been just simply good coverage in the secondary. So Nick Sirianni talked about that a lot yesterday. He talked about Cam Jurgens. He talked about Nakobe Dean. And he talked about Jordan Davis and what they were able to do. But to focus on the quarterback right now, stick with Jalen Hurts for a second here. I wanted to see a guy look accurate, and he was 6 for 6. I wanted to see a guy run when it was there for the taking, not looking to run. And I didn't have as much of a problem as a lot of people did last year with Jalen Hurts looking to run. I didn't think he really did that. I thought he thought throw first and then run. I didn't think he was even a one-and-done type of drop-back passer. Oh, no, first read's not there. I'm going to take off. I thought he did a fine job of trying to survey the field. It was whether or not he felt he had the confidence and the ability to get to that second progression that was more of a problem in terms of throwing accurately to that second receiver. In this game, you saw him scan the field on multiple occasions. You saw him go to that second, what seemed to be the second option on a couple of different routes. You saw the check downs. Miles Sanders catching the ball out of the backfield was a great thing to see. And then on other instances, you saw him escape the pocket, scramble a little bit. He took the big hit from Williams, who is now public enemy number 1 in Philadelphia. You saw Nick Sirianni with that's bleeping BS, right? Wow, that was great. But as the game went on, as that first series, as the first drive went on, it just looked like Jalen Hurts was getting in more and more of a rhythm. And he gave me more than I expected. And I thought at least, like I said Friday, at least show me that the work in the offseason paid off. Now, this is all under the caveat of it's a preseason game. So I'm not watching this as if this is the regular season and a taste of things to come. I'm watching this as an elevated practice. And that's how I look at it. Just give me, show me the signs. Like if he was 1 for 6 and they got down the field by mostly rushing the football, running the football, then I'd be like, oh, everything seems to be the same as last year. So that's not that great. But it wasn't. It was the exact opposite of that. They got down the field because of how Jalen Hurts played. Not because some running back broke off a big play. Not because there was a huge screenplay. There was a screenplay, but it wasn't a huge screenplay. They got down the field because Jalen Hurts was commanding this offense. And that's what I want to see. That's how offenses win in the NFL nowadays. They have to be commanded by the quarterback, and the quarterback has to be the reason they get down the field. Because if the quarterback is consistent, your offense will be consistent. And that's what I saw from Jalen Hurts in this elevated practice that we like to call the preseason. All under the umbrella of the preseason. So impressed what I saw from Jalen Hurts. After that, Jordan Davis. Oh, my God. What do I always want to see from rookies? Young players that are just getting their pro debuts under their belt, preseason or not, look like you belong. And Jordan Davis looked like a man out there. And I know a lot of people, myself included, made a big deal about how he was able to get through a double team where you had 2 of the Jets' offensive linemen in the middle of that offensive line there, their center and their left guard, try to double team him. He breaks through it. Now, a lot of Jets fans were, again, New York fans getting in my comments again. They were getting out there in my comments talking about how Jordan Davis really didn't do anything on that one. The fact that he fought through a double team and finished the play, this is the play where Zach Wilson ended up hurting his knee. And I didn't think I'd have to explain this. And I'm sorry for the sidebar here. Finishing the play means you played through the whistle. Finishing the play doesn't mean you made the tackle and made a great play. It means you continued to play through the whistle. That's what finishing the play means. I understand that was not known by a bunch of people that were dropping in my comments. But Jordan Davis on this particular play fought through the double team, helped flush the quarterback out of the pocket, and then continued his pursuit. Way to go, young fella. And then later in the game, looked a lot like Georgia. Looked a lot like those Georgia defenses. Jordan Davis blows up the hole in the middle, and who comes up? Nakobe Dean to make a play in the backfield. Nakobe Dean, 5 tackles in the first half, 4 of them solo tackles. Way to go, young fella. Way to go, young Bulldogs. Getting after it in the backfield. I thought that they were a great 1-2 punch. Those were right after Jalen Hurts. Watching those two play was great. The fourth guy that I'll mention, Cam Jurgens. It's okay to say this phrase, and you're not putting him on the same level as Jason Kelce. But it's okay to acknowledge the fact that Cam Jurgens is the same exact style of Jason Kelce. Undersized center, blah, 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 quick, fast off the line, quick to get out of the open, to make blocks downfield. That is Jason Kelce's style. Cam Jurgens will now have an NFL career in front of him where he can prove whether or not he too could be a Hall of Fame center. Hey, no pressure, but that's not what I'm looking at, and nobody should be looking at that yet. If you just want to see a guy with the same style as Jason Kelce, go ahead and look at Cam Jurgens because it is the same style. Same level of play? Easy there, buckaroo. When Ross Tucker, and we'll get him on the show again, but when Ross Tucker was talking about Cam Jurgens, who does this remind you of? Who does this remind you of? It's okay. And I know that Scott Graham was a little hesitant to say, oh, it looks like Jason Kelce. I'm not going to say it just yet. No, it's okay to say it reminds you of. Because you're talking about a specific style of football. You're not talking about a guy who's going to go up against the bull rush and knock everybody down. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy getting off the line of scrimmage. We're talking about a center pulling to make a block on the outside for a outside zone run. Like that, to me, is what I got out of Cam Jurgens' performance Friday night. Wow. Very similar style. Hey, look, I'm going to go ahead and cross my fingers. That when it comes to Cam Jurgens' career, we have almost a Brian Westbrook to LaShawn McCoy type of jump, where we had Brian Westbrook in the backfield and he was great, and then right after that, we had LaShawn McCoy carry the ball and did a great job, becoming the franchise all-time leading rusher. Let's hope we have that jump from Jason Kelce to Cam Jurgens, where like we don't have to worry about the center position for like 25 years. Let's hope that's the case. 25 years. Let's hope that's the case. It's possible. That's what I'll be crossing my fingers for. But as of right now, oh yeah, same style. Level of play, yet to be determined. It's a hell of a level to live up to. Hell of a bar to get to. That was set by Jason Kelce, by whoever comes after him. Looks like right now it'll be Cam Jurgens. So that was great to see. That was some encouraging things. Again, look like you belong. Cam Jurgens certainly looked like he belonged. Howie had a good night. Howie Roseman had a good night then. If I'm talking about Jordan Davis, not just me, but everyone, talking about Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Cam Jurgens all contributing in that first preseason game. All right, Howie, off to a good start. Under the umbrella, it's the preseason. So let's just remember that. Let's talk about Nick Sirianni for a second here. Nick Sirianni jumping off the bench, or Nick Sirianni jumping around on the sideline, I should say, to yell over at Robert Saleh. Now, in a fight, I think Robert Saleh wins that because he's built like a wrestler. But I think Nick Sirianni would get his... I think Nick Sirianni would still like poke his eye or something like that, you know? Hey, you love ball? You love ball? We're going to compete. Nick Sirianni was asked by our friend Elliot Shore Parks about the times Jalen Hurts did escape the pocket and whether or not it was called for or not. And Nick Sirianni gave a very Nick Sirianni type of response to that question.
Yeah, I thought he was great. You know, he made plays in the pocket when he needed to make plays in the pocket, and when he needed to escape, he escaped. I think it's interesting. I think it's also to be known, like, leaving the pocket isn't just something that you see when the protection breaks down, right? I think that people think that, like, oh, we left the pocket early and the protection was good. Well, sometimes nobody's open. Like, and sometimes the defense calls a good play and it's not a good look at the coverage. And so, like, it's not as easy to say, like, well, no one, you know, the protection broke down, so he left. I mean, that's because that's obvious. I think the thing that is not as obvious is, again, what I said, like, somebody slipped in a route or somebody or the defense played a good coverage and there wasn't anybody open and he's trying to create with a scramble. And so, you know, I thought he did a great job of that. I thought he played a good football game, first drive, and we'll just look to build on that.
Is that what happened on that play? No one was open?
Yeah. And that was you're talking about the one where he escaped? Yeah. And he escaped on the first one. And that one was a little easier to see because we got beat inside on that, and he had to escape, right? And he made a great play. The one he got hit, there was nobody open on that play.
There's just something about Nick Sirianni escaping the pocket. There's something about that just makes me laugh so hard. But anyway, I thought I couldn't agree more. I thought even when they showed the all-22 footage of it, you could see that guys were covered downfield. Jalen Hurts was making the right play. And the touchdown pass he threw to Dallas Goedert was gorgeous, by the way. And I thought he waited. He was patient in the pocket. And he delivered a ball over 3 defensive backs right into the hip pocket of Dallas Goedert, who brought it in for the touchdown. I thought it was just a perfectly executed play by the entire offense, especially Jalen Hurts, to deliver that football, and then Dallas Goedert, presence of mind, back into that end zone for the touchdown. Couldn't be more happy with the way the Eagles were able to present themselves on Friday night, and I'm looking forward to see how they go. Now, other people, they lost. Who I don't give a damn. That's a preseason. I don't care. The loss does not bother me. Does not affect me one iota. So I look forward to this next game coming up against the Cleveland Browns and see how the Eagles fight their way through this week. And Nick Sirianni talked about this. I won't play the cut for you because it's pretty easy to break down here. The joint practices have become huge in the NFL. And we went through it a lot with Chip Kelly. He wanted to practice with the Patriots, which is fine. But the joint practices have become that other preseason game. And it's become that other opportunity for coaches to evaluate the players that are on that roster bubble as to whether or not that they'll make the team. And they have become huge. And last year, Nick Sirianni was talking about practices like they were preseason games. And he was talking about how guys have really upped their value, and you see how guys compete when they're not hitting the same guy over and over again. And nowadays you're not even hitting the guy; you're playing patty cake with him at the line of scrimmage. But you can now get a little extra added competitiveness to these practices and to these players for more time than you would in a game, and you get more individualized attention when it's in these joint practices, because your coaches are seeing not just you compete against the guy that's already on your team, but compete against the guy you're going to be competing against during the regular season. So that, to me, I think, is what coaches are pulling away from these joint practices. The fact that they get to watch these players a little bit more closely when it comes to their competitive nature on a multiple practice sets, and see how they come back on the very next one. As opposed to being on the sidelines, you could be right there, like a couple of feet away during the play, watching how all this breaks down. And you get to talk to the guy right after as well. And you get to do that for a number of days as opposed to just one game. Go back, correct it, get right back out there, do it against the same guy the next day. Who's on another team you don't feel as bad about if you get a little physical and tempers start to flare. I thought it was ridiculous last year when I was listening to these guys talk about the joint practices, how great it is. And, look, I have no doubt that a joint practice can be beneficial, but talking about it like it is a game, that seemed a little odd to me. But nonetheless, Nick Sirianni, and it seems like every other coach around the NFL, very much valuing the joint practice situation. So they go out to Cleveland to practice with the Browns this week. Bo Wolf, by the way, will join us tomorrow from The Athletic to break down all things Eagles and what's going on with this Phillies team, this Eagles team going forward. Let's get into some basketball conversation because we got some great news yesterday. Now, we already know that the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to kick off on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, the Philadelphia 76ers head to Madison Square Garden for a very New York Christmas with the New York Knicks. James Harden apparently had some kind of scoop here because he was just like, oh, Christmas at MSG, let's go. I mean, I couldn't be more excited about this. And I think since we last spoke, Kevin Durant and James Harden practicing in Barcelona is also something worth bringing up. But I love the Christmas Day games. I love that the fact the Sixers weren't left off this year. I think James Harden and Joel Embiid guarantee you, and Tyrese Maxey, his reputation really picking up steam across the NBA with the way he played, especially last year, and the fact that James Harden's spending like every waking minute with him in the offseason. I think that helps as well. But mainly James Harden and Joel Embiid getting the Sixers back at MSG on Christmas Day to take on the New York Knicks. It's going to be a very fun holiday season. The Eagles will beat the ass of the Cowboys. The Sixers will beat the Knicks. And you know what? Ho, ho, ho. We'll all have a very Merry Christmas. I love that they're playing on Christmas. But more news also starts to come out about Kevin Durant and what's going to happen with this Sixers team and the not-too-distant future. The longer this drags on, the more I feel like Kevin Durant is somehow magically going to become a member of the 76ers. I don't know how it happens. To me, it doesn't make sense. I think if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I want even more draft picks. I don't know what the Sixers would even have to give up because they already gave their draft picks to the Knicks or to the Nets, excuse me. The NBA, I feel like almost as much as baseball, players dictate the way the league goes. Players get their say. Whether it's Kevin Durant leaving OKC. Now, this situation is in no way, shape, or form comparable because of the deal that will have to go down. But, like, Kevin Durant wants to go to the Warriors. He goes to the Warriors. LeBron James wanted to go to Miami, which kind of felt like it started this whole thing. They go to Miami. Bosh goes there. Dwayne Wade's already there. That's just the way it's going to be. Players dictate where they want to go. James Harden didn't want to be in Brooklyn anymore. Now he's with the Sixers. And he basically presented a two-team list when he was leaving Houston, which was Nets and Sixers. They ended up working out the deal with the Nets, so he had to go to the Nets. Didn't work out there. 2 years later, he jumped ship, comes to the Sixers. Like, players eventually get to where they want to be. If Kevin Durant really wants to be here in Philadelphia, Kevin Durant is going to be here in Philadelphia. They'll find a way to make it work. Will it cost you Tyrese Maxey? Yeah, probably. Because if there's one thing that I'm like sure about through all the Kevin Durant conversation and whether or not he comes here to Philadelphia is that I don't see any way in hell other than the really being a pain in the ass to the Nets and the Sixers not offering max. And he goes, well, tough. You got to take that. I'm going to Philadelphia. I just don't. That's in the official wish column for Sixers fans and myself included in that. But if Kevin Durant comes here to Philadelphia, I don't think there's any way that Tyrese Maxey is here. But if Kevin Durant wants to be in Philadelphia, I think Kevin Durant's going to be in Philadelphia. Now, one of the interesting things I know came out, one of the early reports out of, I think it was the Boston Globe, that the Celtics opened conversation with the Nets. And the Nets said, okay, you want Kevin Durant? We want Jaylen Brown, we want Jason Tatum, and we want a bunch of picks. And the Celtics were like, okay, glad we opened this conversation. No. First off, no. Now let's see how it goes. If you're in the Nets, that's where you're starting out. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of our own guy, Daryl Morey, when he was trading Ben Simmons to the Spurs for 5 first-round picks, I think is what it totaled out to be. And the Spurs were like, yeah, no, but at least the dialogue has been open. You ask high. When you don't want to give a guy up and you want to give it every chance for success, you ask for the highest ridiculous price ever. And that's what the Sixers did. They ended up not getting that. They ended up getting James Harden. But that's what the Nets are doing right now. They're opening negotiations. And from a lot of conversations around the league, it's all real. This isn't just Kevin Durant throwing a hissy fit and eventually going back to the Nets. Nobody feels like he's going to be with the Nets next year. And the Nets ownership is digging in. Kevin Durant's digging in, which ultimately means that Kevin Durant's not going to be playing for the Nets. Whether that's him sitting out a couple of weeks to start the season, or that's him in his Celtics jersey, which God forbid, or him in a Sixers jersey. And Tyrese Maxey in a Brooklyn Nets jersey. That's pretty much where we're at. Pots and pans. Let me tell you about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For over 40 years, Steven has been in the love business in Philadelphia, taking care of the city of brotherly love, helping them get engaged and find that perfect gift for the perfect person in their life. Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, whatever it might be, Steven's got you covered. And here's what Steven guarantees, something that no other jeweler guarantees, the perfect price. Some jewelers like to mark things up, way up. And then you negotiate and feel like you won something because you got them down a couple of $100. Steven Singer doesn't want you to have to worry about that. Doesn't want you to have to worry about negotiating or haggling or anything. You just walk in, and all you got to be concerned with is what type of diamond you want to buy from their amazing selection at Steven Singer Jewelers. And a real jewelry expert will walk you through everything at the other corner of 8th and Walnut and show you all the beautiful inventory that they have so that you buy the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. One place, one price, the perfect price every day. Go online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about Manscaped. Fellas, you want to look good everywhere, right? Well, that's where Manscaped enters the chat. With the Platinum Package 4.0, they have a Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer included in this package, and a Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, all with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the nicks and the risk of nicks and helps you manscape with confidence and comfort. Their ultra-premium body wash 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, crop preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, crop reviver, ball spray toner, anti-chafing boxers, and the Shed travel bag that'll help you carry the goods that you'll be using to take care of your goods from Manscaped. Manscaped is the leader in below-the-waist trimming, and as you see in the scroll below, 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at checkout. That's manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at manscaped.com. Remember, all skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code Farzy at checkout for 20% off at Freestone Farms CBD. If you like CBD, if you want to try CBD, check out Freestone Farms CBD right now. You'll love their menu at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll absolutely have to check it out. They have strains like their insane tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. The genetics of these guys are off the charts. Doesn't get any better than that. They also grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State with all organic inputs and IPM, so there's nothing synthetic from farm to jar. And after harvest, they carefully preserve all their plant compounds with a perfect 3-month cure. Just one look or smell, is enough to let you know it's CBD done right, and it's the perfect product for anyone that's taking a more natural approach to everything they put in their body. And once again, 20% off at checkout with promo code Farzy. That's 20% off at checkout with promo code Farzy at FreestoneFarmsCBD.com. Fellas, by now you've heard of Blue Chew, haven't you? That little problem in the bedroom? Blue Chew, BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men combat all forms of ED. And again, Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so there's no embarrassing trips to the doctor or pharmacy, as Blue Chew ships right to your door in a discreet package. And here's the Blue Chew process. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And it's all done online. Also, Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to help you find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. Don't like swallowing pills? No problem here. Blue Chew's tablets are chewable, so it's not just a clever name. Blue Chew's tablets are also made right here in the good old US of A and prepare and ship direct to your house, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. Once again, here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew, and viewers, try Blue Chew free when you use promo code Farzy at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code Farzy at BlueChew.com, promo code Farzy, all one word, and you get your first month free. Just pay $5 shipping. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get into our chat check today, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? See how the good people are doing. April leads us off with a fine good morning. Good morning, April. Kevin, good morning to you. Dan, good morning. Dan, still got to get Harper back soon, or still going to get Harper back soon. And screw the damn Mets. The only thing they can brag about right now is Bill Bucker muffing a ball in 1986. You know, I thought about that, Dan. With a lot of people hit me up in my DMs and my comments here. A lot of people were talking about how the Mets are like some great baseball team. And this year they are. And look, they were in a World Series a few years back. And that's great. Happy for them. Actually, I'm not. But I can't go back to this enough. It wasn't about whether or not the Mets were a better team or not. I think everyone looked at the series and went, measuring stick game against the best, if not your division, in the National League. Measuring stick series. The Phillies came up short in this measuring stick series. I didn't expect them to win the series. I obviously had hope when they fought through game one, and then you had Nola going up against DeGrom in game two, and the Phillies couldn't do anything with their bats. But when it came to the series overall, I wasn't expecting the Phillies to do anything great. I was hoping that they would. Didn't happen. I wasn't shocked that it didn't happen because the Mets are a much better ball club. But Keith Hernandez to say the Phillies were somehow not worth his time is ludicrous. Phillies are a playoff team. When he talked about defense, Phillies and Mets are very comparable defensively speaking, so that's ludicrous. That's the bigger issue. That's why we were so pissed at Keith Hernandez for those comments. It's not about the Mets being, oh, I wonder if the Mets are better. No, everyone knew the Mets were better. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Mally, what's going on? Nice to see you. Mally, good morning. Smoke him if you got him. Dan, well, Mally, if there runs, the Phillies certainly won't be smoking. That's true. Jim Grassmeter, what's up, Jim? Nice to see you. Jonathan Dill. Hello, Jonathan Dill, new to the chat. We beat the Phillies with Harper and Schwarber in the lineup. Record was 9-3. Facts! Jonathan Dill stating facts. That is true. No Phillies fan doesn't know that. Everyone knows that. And when you beat the Phillies with Harper and Schwarber, I will say, that still wasn't the best brand of baseball that this Phillies team has been playing. Rob Thompson now as the manager of this ball club, they're a much, much different ball club. I think the Phillies will be a little bit better with Schwarber getting 4 at-bats and Harper getting 4 at-bats. Those are 8 much better at-bats than you'll see in this particular series if the Phillies and the Mets meet in the playoffs. Let it happen. That would be fun. But one of the things that I had, one of my major takeaways after this series was game 1 and game 2 felt like playoff baseball. When you have a measuring stick series, and this is giving a lot of respect to the Mets and acknowledging what they are, one of the best teams in the National League, one of the best teams in baseball. And Pete Alonso, good God, I didn't realize he had climbed his average up to 280. Like, good for him. Like, I like Pete Alonso. I hate the fact that he wears a Mets jersey, but I like Pete Alonso. And he's a hell of a ball player, and that whole team is just full of ball players. But anytime you're talking about your team having a measuring stick type series against one of the best, that's giving respect and proper due to that better team. And the Phillies failed that test. But one thing I can take away, at least from the first 2 games of the series, is that it did feel like playoff baseball again. It was edge of your seat stuff. The fact that it was a weekend series only added to it. You can spend more time dwelling on it, and paying attention to the games and stuff. And man, I was enjoying every second of it. Playoff, edge of your seat baseball. Loved every second of it. Though I didn't love was obviously the outcome of yesterday's ball game, but at least the 2 previous ones gave us that edge of your seat type of moment that we just haven't really had here in Philadelphia in quite some time. So here is to the Phillies going on. We'll talk a little bit more about their schedule coming up here in the not too distant future. Here's for the Phillies continuously giving us those types of moments as the season goes on. So appreciate everybody there. April hit him with the we. April, I'm going to be honest with you and everyone. I don't mind the we when fans say, like, we got to do this or we got to do that. And sometimes that happens to me sometimes too. Obviously grew up here and rooted for these teams my whole life and all that. But the we, when it comes to fans, like, I always thought, and I've had writers talking about this, it seems to be more writers than anybody, like the we thing. Every time I hear fans talk about it, like, I think of you guys as the Philadelphia part of the Philadelphia Phillies or the Philadelphia part of the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, you guys make up the Philadelphia part, the town, like where they're from, like who they represent. That's why I don't mind the we with fans, because I feel like you're part of that team name. When they talk about the New York Mets, you're part of the New York part. I never took issue with people that say we. So that's one thing I will disagree on. But to hell with it, he's a Mets fan, so April, get him. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Let me get into the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Here's what it looks like the rest of the month of April. Oh, excuse me, the month of August. Got April on the mind. The rest of the month of August. 2 6:40 start times in Cincinnati against Cincinnati Reds, and they got a 12:35 start time be on ESPN+. But Monday, today, Tuesday, Wednesday, all against the Reds in Cincinnati. Syndergaard, Gibson, Suarez get those starts. Then you have the Mets series. That's a 4-game series, all at home against the Mets. You got a 4-game set against the Mets, 4-game series against Cincinnati, then a 3-game series with Pittsburgh. So that takes you up to August 28th. All those are at home. So a long homestand for the Philadelphia Phillies after this 3-game set in Cincinnati against Noah Syndergaard gets the starting game 1 tonight at 6:40. Looking forward to this game tonight. Looking forward to just getting away from the Mets, basically. You look at a Cincinnati team, by the way, that's coming into this series at 45-68. So they haven't been necessarily good. Let's call it that. Talk about measuring stick games. Let's get back, before you have this long series against the Mets, let's get back to building some confidence. Let's get back to doing what you're supposed to do against subpar teams, non-playoff teams, like the Cincinnati Reds, for instance. Let's get back to that. Let's also let Kyle Schwarber take a break. Like, let's give the Phillies a scenario here. Let's give Kyle Schwarber a scenario where he doesn't have to come off the bench later in the game to try to win one for you. Let's make these easy wins. Let's make this another Nationals, another Marlins series. Let's make it one of those so that we can go into this Mets series thinking, all right, well, they took care of business against the Reds, and now let's see what happens against the Mets. And hopefully Schwarber will be ready to go come that time after a few days off. And let's cross our fingers that is the case right there. By the way, congratulations to a couple of young Phillies prospects, Andrew Pater and Mick Abel, both getting promoted to Double-A Reading. How about that? Be good to have those arms in this rotation in the not-too-distant future. So congratulations to those two fellas. And also, to round out the morning rush, I also want to say this. Congratulations to friend of the show, Hugh Lamont Douglas III, and his former water boy at Central State, Ohio, Trent Cole. Both quarterback assassins being announced on Friday. They will make it into the Eagles Hall of Fame. How about that? Hugh Douglas, top 10 in sacks. Trent Cole, second to only a guy named Reggie White. Go figure. Two guys that absolutely annihilated opposing quarterbacks in their time wearing the midnight green. So that is pretty amazing to watch both those guys go in. And Hugh was a part of the show throughout its first year and still a friend of the show, still a friend of mine. Just schedules with his morning and taping the night before. It's tough. But we'll get him on the show again and talk about what an honor this is. I saw he was on with Glenn Macno over the weekend and our friend Mike Sealski. And he talked about how making it he would have always performed for the Philadelphia Eagles fans because he didn't want to think that he didn't care. He didn't want to be like Ben Simmons. Hilarious. Certainly always with the pulse of the fans. Hugh Lamont Douglas the third. So congratulations to him. Here's your pitching matchup for tonight with the Phillies and the Reds. Want to make sure I get this to you. I mentioned Noah Syndergaard. He gets the start for the Phillies. His third with the Phillies, Mike Minor, the lefty, will get the start for the Cincinnati Reds. Minor is got a 6.24 ERA. He's 1-9 on this season, and his last start for the lefty here went 5 1/3, 4 runs earned, 2 home runs. He surrendered. So yeah, he hasn't exactly had success this year. 1-9 kind of spells that out for you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bonus me today for people in the market. I'll be on Fox 29 after the show, having all sorts of fun. So much appreciated. Jim, Matt Gelb of The Athletic seems to think that Abel and Painter have a realistic shot of seeing the majors as soon as next year. Thank you, PJ. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Oh, once again, Bo Wolf will join the show from The Athletic to break down all things Eagles before he heads out to Cleveland to cover the joint practices between the Browns and the Birds. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. See ya.